Hey everyone, and welcome to my first video on the Lighting Tech Tips channel. Lighting Tech Tips, I started this off to provide tech support to people in the north of Canberra. So if you need tech support yourself, just hit me up. My email is support@lightenham.com.au. But for everyone else here, I want to make these videos to just talk about cool tech stuff, whether it's something I found on the internet, in real life, or something I made. Today, I actually wanted to talk about the space hack that I attended 2 weeks ago. A hackathon, for those unfamiliar with, is kind of like a short competition. You get like 24, 48 hours to come up with a new idea, usually centered around technology and how we can apply it in a new way to a very specific theme. And so the US Embassy actually sponsored this one and it was run by Canberra Innovation, who really supports the entrepreneurship community in Canberra. So check them out if you're thinking of starting your own business around entrepreneurship and innovation. And so US Embassy is like, hey guys, have $10,000 and run this hackathon. Now the prize pool was first place got $5,000, second place $3,000, and third place $2,000. And so we were quite lucky. I joined the hackathon. Joined a team of 3 PhD students from the University of New South Wales, Canberra. They're all doing aerospace engineering, so it's like a really cool opportunity for me because I'm coming from a commerce and a programming background. So I joined them and it was pretty amazing. We had a really great time, and today I just want to talk about some of the ideas that came out of the hackathon. So I actually made some paint drawings. So the first idea we're going to jump into, there wasn't a 4th place prize, but they made a special 4th place prize for these CIT Year 12 students, and it was really cool because all these hackathons are about supporting the next generation of entrepreneurs, and it was like really cool that they just made a prize on the spot to give it to these guys because it's a pretty fun idea. So there's a big problem in space with micro debris. And so think of it as like rubbish in the ocean, except unlike rubbish in the ocean, we need to get into space, and if a spaceship gets hit by a flying rock or broken satellite parts or whatever, it's going to be quite damaging. And the longer and longer we as humans become a spacefaring nation, the more and more micro debris is going to build up. And so we need a solution to basically clean up all the junk in space. And so these Year 12 kids came up with an idea to put these slime nets, I guess is the best way I would describe it, into space. And so what the slime would do is catch all these micro debris which couldn't be caught or detected. Because when we talk about micro, we're talking about like less than 1 centimeter. Anything bigger you could detect and like dodge around. But all this smaller stuff is really hard to dodge around. And so these kids were like, all right, we're going to build a net. We're going to put some slime in it. And actually, let me speed this video up. There we go. 4 times speed. And every time this micro debris hits the net, either it's going to get caught if it's slow enough. But if it's too fast, it's actually going to like penetrate the net. Because that's the problem if you use something else apart from slime. Is it's just going to damage it, and if another micro debris just goes to that hole, that's going to be a problem. Whereas slime will just self-heal. And anytime this micro debris hits the net, if it doesn't get stopped by the net immediately, it's going to slow down. And the way things spin around the Earth is once it slows down enough, it's actually going to fall back to Earth because it just doesn't have the speed to keep going. Revolving around the Earth like in a stable orbit. That's the word I was looking for. So once it slows down enough, the orbit basically means the trajectory is gonna land on Earth. So this was a really cool, fun idea. So these guys won $500. It was pretty awesome. So the 3rd place team, which won $2,000, was first year ANU students. So it's really cool how the youngins are always coming up with these cool ideas. Astronaut waste. What are you gonna do? Astronauts need to poo. They need to pee. You can't just chuck the waste outside of a door on a spaceship. It's not a thing. like one of the big things with space and going up into space is like weight is a premium. Anything that you take up is gonna cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Like there's like a price per kilo in space, and so to clean up, to recycle all this waste, because you could get a lot of water out of recycling the waste. Um, in Earth, you can like have gravity to help you in these big tanks, and then all the heavier sediments will fall to the bottom. But in space, there's gravity. There's no gravity, right? All you got is the vacuum of space. And so, what people do at the International Space Station right now is they use a lot of chemicals to recycle, and chemicals take up a lot of weight. And so these guys were like, well, how can we reduce the amount of chemicals that go up there? Because I think every time they send a spaceship to the International Space Station, it's like in the millions of dollars they need to spend for chemicals to clean the waste. And so these guys were like, well, there's no gravity in space, but there is the vacuum of space. And so what we're going to do is we're going to allow sifting to happen with this gravity. So let me just forward into my picture. So let's say this is a waste tank on Earth, right? You've got water with all your waste, and then all the heavier stuff usually will fall to the bottom due to gravity, right? But without gravity, you've got everything just floating everywhere. But when you're using the pressure of space, which is like zero, things which are lighter, they're just going to travel outside much faster. So using that, you can kind of like sift through all the waste, and so all the lighter stuff is going to come out. You can capture that and then recycle that more easily. All the heavier stuff will remain in this like tank kind of thing. So I'm not sure if I've actually articulated their idea 100%, but yeah, that was the point of their idea. So they got $2,000. I'm not sure what they're gonna do. I think they're just gonna split it between the team, and so that's gonna be cool. And yeah, so moving on. Third idea was actually our idea, and luckily I have our presentation. So I'm just quickly gonna go through this. I've a keen interest in assistive technology and how technology can be used in health and with disabilities and that kind of thing. And so when our team was coming up with ideas, we kind of settled on e-textiles, so like smart wearable shirts and socks and armbands and stuff to try to help with your health around that thing. And when you put it into a space context, we realized that astronauts have a lot of negative health impacts when it comes to going to a zero G or a microgravity environment. Apart from them not using the muscles and getting muscle atrophy, for which they do exercise, their spines, they're decompressed because Earth is not pulling them down, and so you just get a little bit taller. Let me see, we've got a picture on the next slide. So you can see like the spine just decompresses, which is not a bad thing if you stay in space forever. But once you get back to Earth, or let's say you're on a 9-month mission to Mars, as soon as you land on Mars, you won't be able to walk again because your spine's just decompressed. And so, unfortunately, we weren't tech savvy enough to come up with a way to prevent that. But what we could do is to measure how badly your spine is getting affected and other parts of your body. And so, think of it like a stethoscope. We're just going to have PZT transducers. So in digital stethoscopes, every time you hear sound, it creates an electrical signal that can be interpreted. And so what we're going to do is have a bunch of these transducers all along your shirt, and then you can basically effectively hear your back. So for example, something which is dense, if I knock on something that's, perfect example, a cup of water. If I fill up a cup of water and I knock on it with a spoon, it's going to make a different sound than if we've got half a cup of water. Similarly, the density of the backbone and other parts of the body and how long it is going to create a different noise. And so by being able to measure the noises, we're able to compute what's happening to your spine. And so right now, what they do is they use MRIs before and after they have a space flight, but they don't actually record what's happening throughout. And so by wearing our device, you could use it for astronauts throughout to see the deterioration to their back, or if they're actually wearing something to stop the spine from actually decompressing, you can actually tell the difference. And the great thing with our idea is actually got a lot of applications on Earth. So think about truck drivers who need to be in a seat all day with like the jarring effects of driving a truck, especially on roads which aren't paved. It's like really bad for the back. Let's talk about people who have to carry weights all day, like they're working in an Amazon warehouse or something. So there's a bunch of applications. People with spinal injuries, you can see how fast they're recovering or not after a sports injury. So yeah, there's a lot of applications, and I think that was the main reason why we won second place. So we ended up winning $3,000. There was a team of 4 of us, and so what we did was decided, okay, we actually want to see how viable this is to an extent, and so we're going to put aside $1,000 for our prototype, see how far we get with that. So we're going to catch up on a fortnightly and monthly basis to keep working on that. But then the other $2,000 we split 4-way and we got $500. Not a bad deal for a 48-hour hackathon. So that was really cool. And then the winner, their idea. Again, coming back to this idea of things in weight in space having a premium. So if you can make things lighter than they exist right now, you can actually save a lot of money for every time you need to spend a spaceship or a satellite into space. So right now, the only way they can actually generate electricity in space is through solar cells. So solar power, but if you've seen solar powers on people's roofs, you can see how heavy and thick they are. And then the ones on satellites, you can always see like the wings. They usually have a lot of glass, a lot of metal. And so this guy actually has been interested in renewables for quite a while. And so he was like, oh, let me pause and show that last frame. He's like, actually, we can actually make solar panels way lighter and thinner than they have to be. You don't necessarily need glass to protect your solar panel. Why not use a bit of plastic? And so he actually prototyped. I don't know if he's actually got like a demonstratable prototype in the sense that it actually uses the sun's rays and produces electricity, or he just had like a demo of what the final product may look like without the functioning parts. But basically what he was showing us was something effectively as thin as Glad wrap, right? And that's like amazing, like going from like a thick, glass solar panel to something as thin as Glad wrap. He is saying you actually lost 99% of the weight. And so that was amazing. It was a space hack. This is like a problem that anyone who's going to space is going to have to deal with, whether it's Elon Musk going to Mars or whether it's just sending up another satellite up in there for GPS or whatever. Like solar panels is the way. And so the judges were like, this is an awesome idea. Here you go, $5,000 to you. So that was my experience with Space Hack. I hope you enjoyed listening to some of the cool ideas that are running around. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.